Today we are going to talk about order of operations. By the end of the lesson, your goal is to be able to evaluate expressions that include parentheses using the order of operations. So let's break down that sentence and go through some vocabulary words. We will start with numerical expressions. Numerical expressions are expressions that contain only numbers and operations. An example would be 3 plus 5. We have numbers, we have an operation, we don't have any letters, and we don't have an equal sign. So this would be a numerical expression. Evaluate. Evaluate means to find the value of an expression. So the value of 3 plus 5 would be 8. Order of operations. Order of operations are a set of rules that we all follow when evaluating to make sure that we go in the correct order, leading us to the correct answer. So let's go through what those are. Now, we start off with our P. Okay, so it's called Pemdas. There's a couple of different ways that we remember it. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Whatever you've used in the past, you may continue using to remember the order. We start with the P. So when we're given an expression, we always start with the parentheses or grouping symbols. Sometimes it'll be a parentheses just like that. Other times it'll be brackets like this, or maybe the brackets like this. Okay, so we start in there. Once we have done that, we move on to our exponents. Exponents are the little numbers up in the upper right corner. From there, we move to multiplication or division. Now, we don't multiply first and then divide. That's not the case. We multiply or divide. Now, how do we decide which one we do first? We go from left to right. We read an expression, start at the left. Whichever one we see first, closest to the left, is where we begin. We'll take a look at that today. And then once we've exhausted all multiplying and dividing, we move on to adding and subtracting. Same thing as multiplying and dividing, though. It's adding or subtracting. Whichever one comes first when we move left to right is what we evaluate first. So let's try a couple of problems here. We've got a couple expressions here that we will go ahead and solve together, evaluate together. Now, one thing that I like to do is go ahead and write Pemdas down the side of my paper. This allows me to check off each step as I go. All right, so we've got 7 minus, in parentheses, 6 plus 2, in parentheses, times 3 divided by 4. So I need to start with P, parentheses. Inside of my parentheses, I have 6 plus 2, so that's my very first step. 6 plus 2 is 8. Now, I must bring everything else down. This little caret tells me what I'm solving, and then I bring everything else down. Okay, everything else comes down with me so I can continue on. Okay, I keep everything organized and go line by line. I have no more parentheses, so I can cross the P out. I look and I don't have any exponents either. So I'm on to my multiplying and dividing. Remember, multiplying and dividing, I determine which to do first by moving left to right. I start at the beginning of my expression and I move. This is subtraction, so I don't go there yet. Here's multiplication first. I have division also, but my multiplication comes first, so that's where I go. 8 times 3 is 24. So now I bring down all the rest of my expression. All right, I did the multiplying, but I still have division left, so I need to get that next. 24 divided by 4 gets me 6, but I still have that 7 minus. I look back over here. I'm done with multiplying and dividing. All that's left is adding and subtracting. I've only got subtracting, 7 minus 6 is 1. So this right here is your numerical expression. We evaluated using the order of operations and determined that the value of this expression is 1. All right, let's do one more example together. Again, if you would like, you can write out that Pemdas down the side of your paper to help remind you the order of your steps. Now, here we have 2 sets of parentheses. Similar to our multiplying and dividing and adding and subtracting, I'm going to move left to right. So this is my first parenthesis. So I'm going to start here. 40 minus 7 is 33. Now I don't need those parentheses anymore. They're done. So I bring down the remainder of my expression. I still have a set of parentheses left, so I can't cross that one out yet. I do 5 times 3 inside the parentheses next. 15. And then I bring down the remainder of my expression. I'm all done with my parentheses. I don't have exponents. There's no multiplying or dividing left. So all I need to do is add my final 2. 33 plus 15 gets me a value of 48. So again, we started with our numerical expression, evaluated using the order of operations, and got a value of 48.